I started taking pictures. And, like, next thing you know, I'm, like, getting followers. And, like, subs is, like, because I'm like, hey, what do you think of this dish? He goes, how the fuck did you come up with that? And I'm like, I don't know, I just did. You know, and they're like, those flavor combinations. All of a sudden I started, like, you know, getting into fermentation. And nobody's, like, and again, I didn't have a book. I just was doing it out of my mind. Yeah. You know, I started making sausage. I started making bread. Like, I wrote out my first sausage recipe. I didn't have an extruder. I didn't have a sausage press. I didn't have nothing. But I was like, I'm going to case it in cull fat. Because that'll work as a casing, right? Yeah. So I, like, wrote out this lamb recipe. And I, like, shoved it into Google. And it was, like, a real recipe. It was, like, some old Cyprian Crete sausage recipe where red wine and shallots and rolled the ground lamb in cull fat and made the sausage like that. And I was like, wait a second here. What the fuck's going on here? Voice in my head told me to do that. Who told me that? Like, it was like legit every ingredient recipe. Yeah. Out of my mind. Like, all of a sudden now, am I channeling? Like, what the fuck's going on here? You know, like, all of a sudden I'm, like, making starter. Didn't know how. You know, curing. You know, I mean, I spent 2 days in Gordon Hammersley's kitchen one time. And so I got to see duck confit. Now I'm making duck confit and then going from there. Making kielbasa. Never, you know, didn't even know what pink salt was or why it did it. But grabbed some and started making shit at the club. Started getting, set up an Instagram. I had like 4 members at the club that were into food. Everybody else was like, what kind of chicken tenders you got this week? Yeah. You know, but there were 4 members, so I was making dishes for these people. And like we were creating. But then there was this new guy, new GM, Eddie Iodice. Eddie came on. He was the head of Old Country Buffet. Mm-hmm. I guess they cook their own food.
No one knows.
Right. He told me, I used to make everything. But it was shit. Yeah. You know, and I remember one day he said to me, I had the sous chef plating. You know, we're tweezer plating. And, you know, now, like, if you look back at my Instagram, like, way down the bottom of my Instagram, all that shit was happening at the country club. Mm-hmm. And I remember him going, I don't fucking care what it looks like. Just get it on the plate. And I was just looked at him, and I went, hurt. And I said to the sous chef, finish plating that, please. And then 86 that dish. Because we ain't playing that game. I'll just fucking 86 it. You know? And that's when I was like, all right, this isn't going the way I want it to now. Mm-hmm. You know? Never thought about, like, the next day I found those people, I forgot about going to do fucking executive protection. Like, it just also never happened. Like, it was a dream. Yeah. You know, like, I got so, like, I woke up from Roland's thing and was like, I need to cook. I need to create. I need to fucking cook food. You know, like, all of a sudden that create meant something. And that beacon of light meant something. And so I realized, like, all the cooks I had in my kitchen at the club had been with me for 5 fucking years. They had all stayed with me. And we're like, hey, and all of a sudden I'm like, all right, now we're going to cook. And they were like, where the fuck did this come from? Who are you? Yeah. You know, and we're doing all, you know, and like, now we're plating, and they were into it, you know. Drew, my sous, was like, chef, this is crazy. You know, never seen anything like it. And I didn't know where it was coming from. We were just cooking. I had made friends. I had gastric bypass, lost a bunch of weight. Now all of a sudden everybody's treating me different at the country club. Right. I went from the 500-pound chef at the country club to the 250-pound chef that now, come play golf, come fishing, come do this. Like, it's crazy, for lack of a better term, racism of being heavy you get. Like, I got to, you know, like, take the fat suit off. Gotcha. And be around the same fucking people I saw every day, but now they all want to be my friend. And I sucked into that for a minute because, you know, like, all of a sudden now you're friends, you know, and you get caught up in it for a second, but then Emily always grounded me, right? Pulled me back in. You know, remember where you came from. Remember who you are. But there was these one members, the Poleyes, were super kind to me, and I took really good care of them all the time. But they were millionaires and owned a penthouse in Puerto Rico on the Wyndham Resort. And hold on one second. George. No, you can come over. Come over and say hello to my friend Dave. This is our illustrious winemaker.
How you doing, man?
Hey, Dave.
Nice to meet you.
How you doing?
Got a beautiful property here.
Thank you.
We're recording a podcast right now, so you can say hello to everyone.
Hello, everyone.
There you go.
I just showed Dave is a chef who originally was from this area and went out to California and was in Napa and worked in some of the best restaurants in the country.
Okay.
And a really well-established chef. And I brought him to see our place here, and he was really, really impressed in the first. Who's the winemaker?
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
I appreciate
you
that.
could tell, man, just from being up there all the time, and like you, after a while, you kind of get to know the scene,
Right.
and you're like, this is like, there's good work being done here. Like you can just tell the organization, the beauty of the landscape and the wine. Like,
Yeah, it is pretty. To sound corny, it's like you can see the view. I mean, it's
Yeah.
just, it's pretty.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's nicer when the leaves are still on and the grapes are hanging. But
yeah,
it's a pretty view. So if you're gonna have a venue that has a winery, like why not show it off, right?
that's right.
And let me tell you, working with George has been amazing. Except I learned a valuable lesson when I walked in and was like, check out the vinegar I made with your wine. And he was like, you don't tell a winemaker that. But it was really good. You know?
Right, yeah.
I don't want to hear that.
Yeah, we just
Vinegar
opened
is
it
the
up
worst.
and
Yeah, but I was like, I fermented it all into vinegar,
I'm doing
He's
everything
like,
I can
yeah.
to keep it from turning into.
he's like, I have worked 3 years for that bottle. You turn around and open to make vinegar.
Yeah,
You're like,
but it was delicious finishing vinegar.
That's funny.
Thank you, George.
You're welcome.
It's nice to meet you, sir. Yeah,
See you, sir.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Awesome, dude. Hell yeah. Little cameo.
Yeah, I mean, you get the winemaker of 35 years coming up through the building. You know, I might as well-
Fucking hell yeah. He's
you know.
on the show, bro.
Yeah,
He's
you know.
on the- you know?
Why not,
100%.
right? I mean, that's where we are.
Yeah.
Because Newport Vineyards, we're all one here.
Yeah.
So, but so we were doing this food and we were cooking, and Eddie Iodice was tough. He didn't care about the food, but I had met these people that did, and I remember I was going to do a private party for them, and they're like, all right, we want to get everything done now because we're going to be at our place in Puerto Rico. And I was like, oh, we're going to Puerto Rico for our honeymoon. And they're like, where are you staying? And I said, I don't know yet. We haven't figured out. They're like, you're staying at our place.
Oh, word. Dope.
Bro, it's on the Rio Mar in Carolina.
Yeah.
In Rio Grande.
Yeah.
Penthouse, 2-bedroom villa, ocean villa.
Damn.
Yeah, and they're like, go down as long as you want. We went down, and then they give us all the spots. Like, don't be tourists. Here's all the spots you want to go.
Yeah, exactly.
So we went down and just fell in love with the place. Like, fell in love with Puerto Rico. Emily and I, neither one of us had traveled.
Yeah.
She came from really rough upbringing. I was always a big guy and, wasn't going to a beach.
Yeah.
And now I lost all this weight, and, I want to give her everything she ever dreamed of.
Yeah.
So we went down to Puerto Rico, met people, had a blast. Went down the following year because I took care of these people. They're like, you can go to our place anytime you want. I'm like, well, we're going next year.
Yeah.
We went down the fall, and I would go cook at their house. So it was a good give and take.
Yeah, yeah.
I really took care of this family, and they were just like, I remember one time I wanted to buy them dinner. I was going to pay for their dinner that I cooked for them. Like, this one's on me, and Chip said to me, he goes, Andy, I don't want to sound rude, but I'm a millionaire and you're not.
Yeah.
And when you are one, you can buy from me. And he goes, and I'll help you be one if you want. He goes, but till then, I'll pay.
Yeah.
Because I have no problem paying. I appreciate the fact that you even offer. And I was like, really? Like, that's, legit. Because they could have,
They could have been like, of course.
right.
Take care of it.
Yeah. But, and they didn't. He was like, I came up and I earned all my money.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, we still have contact. And so we went down to Puerto Rico, and then we were going to this place, Richie's. And Richie's was on the side of a cliff, overlooking the ocean. Amazing. But the food was rough. So I remember, Richie was from Massachusetts. Puerto Rican transplant, went back down.
Yeah.
And I said to Richie, if I move here, where am I going to work? He's like, I don't know. What are you doing? I pulled out my card from the country club, and he saw our executive chef. He goes, you can work here. I go, done.
Yeah.
I was like, done.
Yeah.
So my wife, a couple months later, went down with our daughter, who was going to be a freshman in high school. And she was like, no fucking way.
Yeah.
My daughter's like, I don't speak Spanish. I'm not
Yeah.
moving. I want my friends. I'm going to be a freshman. I get it. I mean, my mother moved when I was 16, and I was like, nope, I'm staying.
Yeah.
You know, so like, how could I fight that? You know, so we ended up not moving. Hindsight being 2020. I mean, the 2 hurricanes that happened, we would have been there for it.
Yeah.
But I made a great friend while I was down there. My buddy Kevin Roth. Kevin owns a restaurant called La Estacion in Fajardo. Kevin smokes meat and does barbecue. He's from New York. Went down, fell in love with a girl, married, stayed down there. Kevin has become a great friend.
Yeah.
What's funny is I'm reading through one of the, you know how they got like, tourist shit in your room and stuff, even in the condo.
Yep.
Like, go eat at this restaurant. He was like best pork in the world, won the world barbecue competition in the Caribbean. I'm like, I go see this fucking dude.
He was the man.
Yeah, I'm going to see this dude, And so I finally get in there to see him, and I'm like, we have dinner, and I go, hey, can I meet the chef? Is he here? I'd really like to just thank him. And they're like, yeah. So they're like, he's the only blonde-haired, blue-eyed white guy in the kitchen. It's an open kitchen. He says, so I go back and I introduce myself, and he says, wait, I recognize your name. Pulls his phone out. We're friends on Facebook.
Okay.
Like we're both following each other.
Got you.
It's like, you do some pretty sick work. And
so
I was
he had
like,
been looking at your food.
Yeah, so we kind of knew each other, without knowing each other.
Yeah.
So we are automatically hit it off. So the following year I went down. I was like, hey, I'm coming down. You need anything? He was like, I need amateur powder. I'm like, all right, I'll find you some amateur.
Yeah.
So I find a 5-pound block of amateur that I wrap in plastic wrap and I put in my fucking suitcase. Now it looks like a brick of coke.
Yeah,
and I'm bringing it to Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
We got it, no issues. I got him his amateur powder, but we became friends. Well, then the hurricane happened.
Yeah.
Maria happened, and he got pretty devastated. So he says, I'm coming up to Connecticut. They just had a baby. I was like, are you coming here? I'm throwing a fundraiser party for you. So we ended up throwing a big party here for him, raising a bunch of money, and we've been just tied to Puerto Rico ever since.
Yeah.
So Puerto Rico was happening, and working at the club, and I'm traveling in the winter. I got 2 months off paid. It's a really good gig, making stupid money. Country clubs, chefs, if you can sell your soul a little bit, that's where the money is.
Country club.
Yeah, like that's, they you got 400 bosses, but there's money in it.
400 bosses.
Yeah, I made silver dollar pancakes at 9:00 at night.
Yeah.
As we're closing because someone wanted it. Or your day off, you got 15 emails because someone had a sirloin instead of the filet they have every day, and why is it so tough? I don't know, dick.
Exactly.
Why did you decide on my day off to have a New York strip instead of a friggin' filet that you eat every fucking day? You eat fillets 6 days a week, and now all of a sudden you have a New York strip on my day off, and you're like, it's fucking tough.
Yeah.
No, it's not. It's a New York strip.
So you're just getting roasted.
Yeah, you had to have really, like, say you and I were sitting here, like, this whole time shooting the shit, and you ordered lunch a while ago, and then all of a sudden you didn't finish your fries, and I stopped picking at your fries a half hour later. I could go to the bartender and be like, these fries are fucking cold. Can you send them back and get new ones? That's not even my lunch.
Yeah.
But it don't matter. And they'd come up and go, Mr. So-and-so said these fries are cold. I'm like, we haven't put out fries in 40 minutes. I know, but he said he's now eating Mr. So-and-so's leftovers.
Yeah, and they're cold, yeah.
Right.
Gotcha,
he wants new ones. So you had to do shit like that.
And you're like, heard, no problem.
Yeah, at the end of the year, every year you went in front of the board and petitioned for your job.
Oh, really? Okay,
yeah,
gotcha.
I made this much for you. We had this, if you made the money, then you was ripping the club off. Like, you had to come out at zero.
Oh, really?
Because if you were making the money, then you were overcharging the members.
Heard.
So, 42% was your food cost.
Whoa.
Right.
That's crazy.
Because it was nonprofit.
Oh.
Because it's a private club, just enough to pay the bills.
Heard that.
So I was budgeted for 42% food cost.
That's awesome.
Let me fuck around a lot. Because I still ran it like a restaurant, and then I fucked around.
Heard that.
That's where I experimented and played, after I had this whole epiphany. I'm like...
I have to create. Yeah.
I have to create, and I'm going to... the staples were 30% menu items.
Yeah.
But then all my fuck around was 60-70% menu items,
Gotcha.
just to fuck around, and like we ate a lot of it,
Yeah.
But in the end, the blended food cost was $42, and I got a huge bonus.